thing. I mean, you know, at that age, is it tough on the body, or is it a mental thing that really keeps you vibrant and engaged?
Yeah, well, I think everything in moderation, but tennis is a wonderful sport, like golf, for a lifetime. And people love playing it, and they love to play it throughout all their decades. And, you know, some of the surfaces like clay, you know, it's a little easier on the body. It's nice to be on that, but it is a wonderful sport for a lifetime.
So now, you had talked about the number of volunteers that you have involved. If folks wanted to become volunteers, what are the expectations on the part of Tenacity? What do you expect them, and what would you like them to do?
I think the first thing to keep in mind is that tenacity and working with kids is about trusting relationships. And so as a prospective volunteer, you want to think about, am I ready to come into a classroom or go out on a tennis court and really be an adult that can earn a trusting relationship with a kid. And to a large extent, it's not only about how you're interacting with a child, but doing it over a period of time. So we don't need you 5 days a week, but if you could come once a week for a semester, that's the type of engagement that really starts to make a difference for the kids. And so I think that's something to keep in mind.
So as kids have gone through your program, I'm assuming, which is always a dangerous thing to do, that some of them have actually attained college scholarships, gone on to play in college, and maybe some have gone on to further their careers. Is that in fact the case? And if so, talk to us about that.
Well, it is the case, and I guess I would say a couple things. First is that is sort of a secondary benefit of tenacity, because we're really not in the business of creating great tennis players. We're really in the business of giving kids a community that's supportive, loving, disciplined, and helping them with their academics, their life skills, so that they can graduate from high school with the skills they need to go on to post-secondary and then come out having completed a post-secondary pursuit. Could be a 2-year, 4-year college, a tech school, trade school, and really be ready at that point to lead a productive adult life, to be self-sufficient. That's what we're about. We use tennis along with academics and life skills and the family engagement to really as a tool and as a hook to allow the other work to happen. But when a kid becomes really good, and we have had a few get college scholarships, that's a lot of fun.
So
we've probably had as many kids get scholarships or more for academics than for tennis. But when they get one for tennis, I think it's kind of cool. I had one, and it's fun to see that happen.
Now talk to me about the alumni. You know, do they stay engaged? Do you have some of the folks that have started out as kids go through the program, then come back to work in the program? Has that happened?
That happens all the time. That is our culture, and that's why tenacity will always be about creating a pathway or a sequence of programs over the long haul for young people. And it starts right in the 6th grade, where we say to all the incoming 6th graders, if you make it through our intensive middle school academy, and you come out the 8th grade, we will guarantee you a summer job, paid. These kids then do that for years through high school, and then they go off to college and so forth, and they keep coming back. And it's usually to contribute as tutors, as workers, as AmeriCorps members, as full-time staff. And they have a lot of opinions about how we could do things better. And most of the time they're right. And they've had a really unique experience.
So I remember reading somewhere, maybe about a year or so ago, that in China, tennis is going to be a requirement, you know, for, if not all of the school-age kids, a lot of the school-age kids. At one point, tennis was, you know, really thriving. Some of the names that you've mentioned in this country, in America, not so much the case now. One, why is that? And two, is the pendulum beginning to swing back where we're getting more American kids into the sport?
Well, it's interesting. I think a number of sports have been struggling in terms of participation. Tennis has actually been doing a really good job bringing a lot of new people in. Where the sport can do better is figuring out how to keep them in for this lifelong sport. And so we're really looking at how kids are taught. And there's a new sort of approach called Quick Start that the USTA developed that really is a much more friendly, a friendlier approach to learning the game with smaller courts, smaller rackets, and bigger sponge balls. It's a lot of fun. So that's making a big difference, and I think we have to, as a sport, prove the future of it and demonstrate it. To some extent, I think we're living off of the benefits of the 1970s when there was a huge tennis boom.
Right.
Yeah.
So now, do you feel that you're an ambassador for the sport in some manner of speaking, given what you're doing with the kids? I know there's a heavy emphasis on academics also,
Yeah.
but I mean, you are really out there, championing the sport. Do you feel like you're an ambassador sometimes for the sport?
I think all of us at Tenacity think of ourselves as ambassadors for tennis, for kids, for education, for the city of Boston. And I guess to answer your question, ambassadors for how tennis and local tennis communities can come together and organize to make a difference in parts of the community that deserve and need support and help. And I think that's what we are about.
Talk to me about the diversity of the program. Now, years ago, when you talk about the 70s and earlier on, you didn't have a lot of folks of color involved in the game. Now you turn on the TV and you're looking at some of the tournaments, and you have a lot of kids of color in this country, and it's a wildly international sport. Talk to me about that diversity of the sport itself and bringing all of these different cultures together and people learning about one another from a different walk of life.
Well, I think it's huge and incredibly healthy and important for that diversification to happen, for the participation to come up from all communities. And I just think on one small example that's pretty neat is in our summer program, where we're in virtually all of Boston's neighborhoods. We have a league, and each site will have 2 or 3 teams that will be competing against teams from other neighborhoods in the city. And even within our city, it's amazing how many kids don't get from Dorchester over to Hyde Park. That's or
right.
to East Boston is a better example. And so these kids love doing that. And because they're meeting kids from different ethnic backgrounds and having a lot of fun together. So, I think Venus and Serena, Serena continues to be a huge, amazing player. But the two of them together, I think, really helped make tennis accessible for so many of us in the country that weren't playing. And I think that's part of the reason we have 5,000 kids, very diverse group that's reflective of the neighborhoods of Boston coming out each year.
And as an extension of that comment, the fact that you have tennis courts all around the city versus having a building someplace set down where all of these folks would have to come to that building, you're taking the sport beyond its borders and taking it all around the city. And so when you talk about our differences being our strengths, I mean, what you're doing is really playing into that, and that is something that I think these kids will probably carry with them for the rest of their lives, would you not say?
I think you're right, and it's just a huge asset that the city has provided with these courts in virtually every neighborhood, and working with Mayor Menino and the city administration, we've been able to just partner up and provide some good activity out there that draws kids and families in, and it's now their program in their neighborhood, and that's the way it should be. And they will dictate the future of the sport in Boston. and beyond.
So as we close out here, Ned, if folks want to get more information about Tenacity, give them your website address, your telephone number. How do they get that information? So they want to get their kids involved in both the summer program and the school year program. How do they go about doing that?
Real simple. Just go to www.tenacity.org, and all the information will be right there. Our phone number is 617-562-0900. Give us a call or go on the website, and we're here to partner up, and we'd love to work with you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And it really is good to see you after have not seen you in quite some time.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad to see that you're still at it. So folks, look, I've known Ned, as I said, for quite some time. I've known the program. I've seen what they do. And it's first of all, it's yeoman's work, but it's very productive, positive work. And so if you got kids out there of any age or any stripe, look them up, get them involved. It'll be well worth your time and theirs. That's it for today's show. We're out of here. We'll be back again next week. So until then, you take care of yourself. Peace.